The CFL Gambling Podcast Week 12 reaction show and power rankings episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Yes, they do have CFL action. Underdog Fantasy, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Brian Bosworth, aka The Boz, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride, brother. Peace out. Boz out.
Welcome to the CFL Gambling Podcast. Week 12. Reaction show. Power rankings. Yes. We are home at last. All right. Not free at last. Home at last. YouTube.com. Get on over there. CFL Gambling Podcast. I may or may not look like Jeff Van Gundy right now with the bags under my eyes. A little sleep deprived, and that is from the start gonna get you to be aware. No slides today. No slides today. It's Power Week for me. Slides will be back next week. Maybe I'll squeak them in for the huge tits parlay at some point on, well, tomorrow essentially. But man, we had another crazy week. We had a Rouge end a game. I don't think that should happen.
I agree. That should not happen.
The CFL should delete that. All right. I like your little Rouge thing, but it should never end a game. All right. And get rid of those goddamn ties while you're at it. All right. In the command center. Look, I got a lot. I could talk longer, but you're probably wondering who the hell you're listening to. That's fair. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dad, AKA Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Sleep deprived. I am drinking too much coffee. It needs to be alcohol. But that comes after this week when we celebrate football. The CFL merging with all other forms of football for the most part. I am joined by my co-host. You've heard him on the Old Fashioned Football Podcast. You've heard him on the UFL Gambling Podcast. Give it up for Justin Mark, freshly back from the desert, aka J Mark. How you doing? No turn, J Mark.
Doing well. I'm sick. We can either blame the airport or we can blame the fact that this weekend I was in Packer country. That's enough to give me a bug. Made me all itchy. So,
that's right. You know what? I saved that audio from when you called me from Wisconsin. Here we go. Look, this is from a couple days ago when known Chicago Bear fan Justin Mark was in Wisconsin.
I'm dying in this fucking country ass fucked up town. Shit flying in my mouth. The fuck, I can't see pollen. And let's get the fuck out of this country, mother.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, I understand. That's so. So how long did you stay? How long did they let you stay?
Oh yeah, I wasn't there long. We hit the road at 5 a.m. on Saturday morning, and we were back on the road at 8 a.m. the next day. Just there to support a friend in his wedding, and then it was like, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah, you know, now that I think about it, the last time I went to Wisconsin, I got incredibly sick on the way back too. I feel like you can't escape the cheese, man.
Right? I didn't upset the bride, but I had to point out their colors were blue and orange. And I said, I love that you picked Bears colors. She's a big Packer fan. And she's like, I didn't even think about that. And now I hate it. And Miranda, my wife, was like, I told you not to say anything. But the bride was like, I'd be disappointed if he didn't, to be honest.
I like that though.
From me.
I like that. Bring it home. We did not bring it home in our CFL picks, and I want to shout out the 5-star review we got. Let me see if I can quickly find this review that cracked me up. Where are we at? Where are we at here? Let's see. Right here. This is my favorite review because it's spot on for this year. It really is. Wait, why am I not seeing the reviews right now? I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. I saw it right before I loaded up this thing, and now I can't find it. Anyway, it said something. If I can paraphrase here, it was something like, "This show is great. These guys can't pick shit, but they're a bundle to listen to. They're a fun bundle to listen to." Yeah, we've had a tough year as far as ATS, but guess what? We haven't had a tough year with, and then I find it convenient, even though I'm grateful he gave us a 5-star review, he or she, but didn't mention that we've given away money DFS lineups almost every week of the goddamn season. We're hitting at like 90% of the season. And I cashed again this week. J Mark cashed again this week. Talk about straight shooter with upper management written on you. What's up?
The lineup I gave out did not cash. I copied a variant of your lineup that cashed. And I knew that was going to happen. I said, people, you're not following me. This is your fault if you're not winning. And then we had some people follow me, and it ate shit. That seems to be the way it goes. However, the 2 weeks prior was enough for 30 entries into the $15 show. So,
well, I also I did a little deep dive on this before, and I'm not saying it's you. So I feel like when I travel, you think you're all there, but you're not. All right. The football season a couple of years ago, I was getting married. I got married during football season, believe it or not, which is I thought I would never do that, but I drove cross country, and my DFS lineups I drove cross country in October, but like in September I was turning in fire DFS lineups, including I think I think I charted at number 2 and I won close to $4,000, I think. And then, but I had I was turning in fire lineups the entire time. Then I went on the road, and I was like, okay, you driving like 8 to 10 hours a day, checking in a hotel. I'm with the dog, you know what I mean? Taking the dog out. Then I got to do the podcast from the hotel. And then I was turning in DFS lineups, and I just realized, for whatever reason, I could not hit a DFS lineup on the road. Right. And I was like, I must not be paying attention. And that's what I think it is. You start getting that rigorous travel. You were out in the desert, right?
Yeah.
Where the sun's watching you a little hardcore, you know? And I think that plays tricks on you, man. It's like The Shining when he's stuck alone in that fucking hotel room. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to say your head wasn't all there because you came back from Arizona and you're up in Wisconsin, which, by the way, has the most serial killers per capita in the entire United States historically. So you're probably always on alarm. You know what I mean? Like I bet you're just sleeping, every 2 seconds, just looking around to see if anyone's watching you, and you're not thinking about your DFS lineup. Like normally when I'm at home, I'll be like washing a tomato or cutting a tomato or something. I'll be like, yeah, kind of think I should go with Cody Fajardo this week. You know what I mean? Like you're just always thinking about it. But yeah, our picks have been asked though this week, or this season really. I've had a really hard time with I mentioned this before. I've done NFL pick'em for a long time, right? College football for a long time. I'm talking more than 20 years, right? And UFL, USFL, AAF, XFL, CFL years prior. This has been the hardest year for me, I think, of any of those. Of any of those leagues, this has been the like. Do you feel that way? I feel like just the constant shuffling of quarterbacks, of rosters, coaches getting fired, coaches getting hired. It has been a very challenging year in the CFL for me.
100%. I mean, I've had some people DM. They didn't believe last year I was any good at it, and I had to pull the receipts from Tally side of picking at 63, 64% around there for the entire year. So yeah, I mean, it has been an incredibly challenging year, and I want to blame the quarterback shuffle, but I mean, we saw that in the NFL last year, and I felt like I did good in the NFL. NFL had 60 some starting quarterbacks. I'm not sure what it is. I can't put my finger on why this is so unpredictable. I mean, things that seem so obvious always seem to go the opposite way until you think that way. You're like, well, this is too obvious. We're going the opposite way. Well, then it happens. The obvious route happens. So I don't know. It's been definitely a challenging year to win cash. And for all those people complaining, we're putting our money on it too. So I mean, we're losing right there with you.
Yeah, and I do think though in a 9-team league, it's a little different. I think it's a little different when you have a 9-team league and fluctuating quarterbacks. The depth is not there. Like, the backup in the NFL, like is really good.
Yeah.
The backup, no disrespect. I love the CFL, but sometimes depending on the backup, like when Montreal went to Caleb Evans, that was horrible. But then Davis Alexander comes out of the blue. It looks like Broadway Joe.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I guess theoretically that can happen, but I feel like it's more rare in the NFL. More rare, rarer in the NFL. It's early in the morning. Anyway, folks, look, what to tell you, you're listening to the CFL Gambling Podcast. Merry football season. Everything in the merch store is 10% off with the promo code football. So hop on over there, get yourself a old fashioned football podcast t-shirt. Pairs perfect with the next time you get hammered. All right. So go out there and get that thing. Yeah. In the SGP store, sportsgamblingpodcast.com, or the SGPN app, which is free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. And don't forget to let it ride. All right, back talking CFL action, and so game one chronologically was Toronto and Saskatchewan, which ended in a rouge. So the final score was 20-19. We did lose money on this. This is a horrible way to end the game. You shouldn't win by by failure. You know what I mean? Like if you win by failure, what are you doing with what? Just shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen.
100% agree. Winning off of a missed field goal is a bunch of bullshit. I'm all for the rouge, but take it out that there's no rouge in the last 5 seconds or whatever it is. There's no game-winning rouges.
Yeah, I would agree, because it makes me question why you even went to the fucking event. Then it's the same as like a tie. When I say this for the NFL too, or old school back in the day college football in like the early 90s. There is nothing you go to see an outcome where a team earns a win. You don't go just to go. You know what I mean? Like you want to see an outcome that is satisfying, right? That is not satisfying. When you fail to a win, it is very stupid. It is a stupid rule. And yeah, like I mean, the NFL, when they have their ties in overtime, I'm like, dude, we just watched a 4-hour fucking game.
Right.
And you haven't been smart enough to change this fucking rule. I don't care. Look, I'm not very fond of like the 2-point conversion college football rule that they changed recently, where like if it goes to past the first overtime, you just keep doing 2-point plays until you win. but I still think that's better than a tie. So,
Yeah.
And this I know. Well, this one wasn't a tie, Colby. Yeah, but this was you. They did nothing. You missed to win. Think about that. Can you imagine in basketball if you're at the free throw line and you're like, okay, if I miss this free throw and it's all tied up, we win the game. It's the stupidest logic of all time, maybe. Anyway, the Argos win. Where are you at with the Argos?
Oh, I don't know. I don't like how I get that Chad Kelly is the better passer, right? I don't get why they changed their game plan. They went away from the run, which Kadeem Carey has been a very good run on the ball and passed the ball 39 times. I think if you want to be successful as the Argos, you rely on a defense that slows the opponent down and you run the damn ball. I didn't like that part of it. I mean, it kind of looked like a different team because of it. I get it. You have more confidence in Chad Kelly. You want to throw the ball, but this team, the reason that I think it was so close is because they went away from that. They didn't run the ball efficiently.
Yeah, but yet they still get the dub. I'm starting to think Saskatchewan's cooked, dude.
Yeah.
They had the command center steal the one win. Then this Kotkaniemi, like I feel like the world is against them right now. Right. Then you had the this failure win. Trevor Harris didn't look as great too. I'm still on the fence. I think Shea Patterson might be the better option. I never thought I would say that.
I know it feels gross to even think it, doesn't it? But I agree. I mean, he looked like he was taking command of that team better. He started a little slower, obviously. I mean, everybody does when they get in there, but those last several games, he was really showing confidence in his throws. It looked like the guys are confident in him. Trevor Harris had a really good first game back, but this game he looked a little lost. So yeah, I agree with you 100% there.
And my DeMonte Coxey DFS play. Oh yeah.
I'll take half credit since you asked me which one you should go for.
That's true. No, I had Coxey in my lineup. I took him out when I asked you that, and then I put him back in. So,
okay,
you know, I just want you to know that I was rethinking my ink a little bit. I was like, but at the same time, yeah, that game is disappointing though, man. Like, I just hate seeing an outcome like that. I hate seeing an outcome like that. Folks, want to tell you before we get to the next game that the CFL Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy Pick'em gives you a chance to win 1,000 times the amount of money you enter, or you can play fantasy football the right way with Best Ball Mania. Yes, and Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. They just introduced college football best ball, which I've never even heard of before that. You can now use specials and boost on all flexed entries. So get on over there, sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com promo code TCE SGPN. All right, we are back. Shout out to Channing Brown. Say I love these afternoon shows. Once again, folks, YouTube, get on over to YouTube, type in CFL Gambling Podcast, and voila. Our stupid faces start staring at you and talking. All right. Game two was, I watched this entire game and I got to be honest, Chris Jones had an impact. Can I just say that Winnipeg should not have won this game?
Agreed.
I don't understand it. Just when we start to buy in on Winnipeg, and this is, part of the problem with this league is like, or this season, not this league. I love this league, but this season, you start to get a grasp of these teams. I mean, remember like early on, let's just take a second for a second and say, early on, first couple weeks of the season, I guess, we were super impressed with Montreal at the gate, but it shifted to BC, right? And we were like, whoa, BC is a force. And then BC lost like 2 or 3 in a row, right? And then, Vernon Adams, even before he was injured, looked bad, right? And we're just like, I don't know. Then we bought stock. At one point, we bought stock in Calgary. We're like, hey, Calgary is looking legit. I actually think early on too, we bought some stock in Toronto. I think it was after game 1. We were like, yeah, Toronto's legit.
Yep.
Then we're like, oh, Saskatchewan they're fixing it. They're looking good. And then we've been riding the Ottawa train, which is yet to let us down, by the way. We'll talk about that in a minute. The only one, and then Edmonton, we jumped on Edmonton for a little bit there, the Eskimos. And then, so the only one, and then Winnipeg, we're like, this past week's episode, we're like, Winnipeg has figured this out. They're a team destined for the Grey Cup. They got the pedigree with Zach Caleros and Brady Oliveira. And the only team we're like, we're like the drunk guy, the drunk virgin at a bar, just trying to get ass. Just hey, hello, huh? I mean, man, the only team we haven't really backed, and like we backed them in the preseason, is the Hamilton Ticats. Like throughout the season, I mean, we've called for some upsets by them, but we've never been like, oh, they look super impressive.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the only fucking team. That's been the kind of year it's been. Like I said, you had a great year in the CFL last year. I had a great year in the CFL last year, and it's like, but we kind of knew. I feel like I knew these teams were good. That right when we think a team is good, they look like shit. And Winnipeg somehow looks like shit this game, but yet still somehow wins. I will be honest. The Chris Jones, acquisition as defensive coach there. The defense played a lot more chippier. Yeah, they still folded when the game was on the line, but I look, I don't know how much I learned from Hamilton besides maybe they've shown a will to fight a little more, but it has me questioning Winnipeg again.
Yeah, it was way closer than it should have been. But I agree they should have lost probably. Brady Oliveira, that's the one like bright spot I think for Winnipeg that really stood out. Ran for 120 yards. He seems to be running harder each week, so if they can get behind that, they should be all right. But I mean, you can't go against Hamilton and only win by 3.
Yeah, and I felt like they should have lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to key on what I was talking about, by the way, Bo Levi Mitchell played mistake-free football, but he was only 50% completion percentage.
Yeah.
One of Hamilton's biggest problems is they can't run the ball. You know what I mean? Like they don't even like commit to the run.
Mm-hmm.
Tim White though had a monster day. Had 134 yards receiving. He also had like a 30-yard rush. But how about Zach Caleros' stat line? 18 of 36, 177, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. That was my DFS quarterback, and I still cashed. Unfucking believable. And you know who's emerging is Ontario Wilson. He's really starting to become their number one. 10 targets, even though no touchdowns, but 6 for 72. 10 targets though, led the team. They got lucky to win this game. They got really lucky to win this game. Then game 3. I'm curious which game you think was the best game, but game 3 was BC at Ottawa. I did watch this entire game. I had it on at the studio. I was there, Saturday watching a bunch of the games there. Ottawa is that's the one that hasn't let us down, right? Ever since we bought into them being legit. Drew Brown didn't even have I guess he played serviceable, but he didn't throw a touchdown. He had an interception. Standback had a good game with just about 100 on the ground. Armstead I thought would be better. But how about my guy Justin Hardy from ECU? 11 for 114. Where are you at with Nathan Rourke, by the way?
Yeah, I think you mixed up Brown's and Rourke's stats there. Brown went 390 for 3 touchdowns.
Oh, wait, did I say Brown though? I meant Rourke.
Okay, yeah, you said Brown. Okay. So Rourke, he was more accurate than last week, right? But still, he had the interception, 0 touchdowns. If Vernon Adams is healthy, you got to go with him, right?
You got to.
I think so too.
Dude, I think they're fucking this up so bad. I love Nathan
Agreed.
Rourke. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I just think like you just took, your best, the MVP probably of the league. Although out of nowhere, Davis Alexander and Cody, if Cody Fajardo was healthy, he probably would have. But if you had asked me prior to last week, who had been like the most valuable player of the league so far, if I had to cast a vote, it would have been Vernon Adams. Maybe Drew Brown. But those probably Vernon Adams, I think, would have been my pick. I'm a skeptic on BC, man. I am a skeptic. I am a skeptic. I don't know, man. Ottawa though, and for a minute there, like I feel like through the first half, BC had really outplayed them, and then the second half, Ottawa's like, wait a second, we're at home, we're a better team, let's get it done. But another thing, something that has developed is Alexander Hollins and McInnes are not on the same page. McInnes still had like 5 for 79, but Hollins only had 18 yards receiving. What happened here?
Yeah, it seems like ever since Keon Hatcher came back, and it's not, I'm not saying it's his fault. It just seems like they haven't put those guys in the best positions on the field to succeed. Because before he was back, these guys were, kicking ass. They were some of the best 2 receivers in the league. And as soon as he came back, it just seemed to mess with the mojo of everything. I'm not saying he shouldn't be on the field. I just think they really need to reconsider where they're lining these guys up. And they need to do a better job at putting them back in the positions to succeed that they were prior to him coming back.
Yeah, and we did get this one right. So this is where we tout. I'm a fucking genius. I knew Ottawa was going to get this done.
It was also our lock. We double locked.
That's true. Listen to our locks and ignore everything else, except DFS.
Right.
This Ottawa team, Rod Villagomez, shout out to him. NASCAR, check out the NASCAR gambling podcast, but he's got to be thrilled. They moved to 7-2-1. J Mark, I did not see this coming. They have the second best record in the entire league. Impressive.
And already hit over their win total.
Yeah.
I believe it was at 5.5. So already cashed that.
And then the final game on the slate. Now this one, I admit I did not get a chance to watch this game. I score monitored, so I don't want to lie to the good listeners of the CFL gambling podcast and supporters of the Huge Tits Parlay, which did not cash, by the way. I will say this: it was like 17-3. Was it 17-3 or something when I was score monitoring this thing? And unfortunately, Trey Ford did not play. McLeod Bethel Thompson actually had a solid DFS game. 2 touchdowns, 200 yards, 21 of 33. How about Kevin Brown breaking through for what? Over 100 yards on the ground? What the hell is this Eskimo team? But they still got shut out in the second half, and Cody Fajardo did his thing. Charleston Rambo, 95 yards receiving. I was concerned when I found out after our show last week that it was no Davis Alexander. I was like, oh God, because I had to quickly switch. And then I was like, Fajardo's not going to throw it to Rambo. We saw this before. But then I'm like, wait, Philpott's out. He's got to throw it to somebody. Right? Cole Speaker might be the one to look at moving forward, or Austin Mack. They both got a ton of targets. Rambo only got 4 targets, but he caught 3 of them for 95 yards. So I don't know how in love I am with playing Rambo moving forward in DFS.
Yeah, that's going to get tricky. I liked Speaker again. He's had a couple good games here, and it seems like Fajardo likes him. It was Austin Mack's first game back as well. So the fact that he got 8 targets on his first game back, definitely something to monitor, because as he gets more reps, they get more on the same page. He's going to be able to do more damage with those targets. This is the game I probably watched the most of since I was back home and already sick, nothing else to do. Yeah, it was, I believe it was 17-6 at half. Edmonton was winning. They didn't score in the second half, but when it was 17-6, Montreal was only plus 165, which seems a little low for a team that's down by 9 and had not played the first half well, but I loaded up on hitting them on the money line there to kind of salvage the weekend. But yeah, I mean, this Montreal team, it's good. They started really slow, but they did what good teams do. They got back in it. They didn't quit, and they won the game. We would have liked to see them cover, obviously, but wins are all that matters to them. So props to them for sticking with it and being able to win, because this is something they could have easily gone into halftime defeated and put a lackluster performance out in the second half.
This is what championship teams do.
Yep.
It's what they do. Folks, going to talk more on that in a second. I want to tell you, the CFL Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Rhythm. Have you ever wanted to create your own sports betting model for football? Do you even know what a sports betting model is? Well, SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in a matter of seconds. And after that, you can get predictions for betting on lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, or you can sit back and copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard. Or you could customize that thing, say, build a model for me, talk about what you like or select what you like. And then Rhythm gives you predictions based around all that. They'll give you predictions for every game, every player prop. They have just a slew of stats, research, trend analysis that'll give you even more betting insight. The Rhythm college football model loved Delaware State plus 40 on the island against Hawaii. I bet that as well. That thing cashed. Build your own model and get ready for week 1 college football. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. All right. We are back and ready to attack. Let's talk about this before we do our power rankings. I can't help but just look at this divisional race. The East is figured out. I mean, if Hamilton had somehow won that game and Toronto had lost, then maybe you could say Hamilton could crawl back into it. I think it's cooked. I think this playoff race in the East. Now, I guess you're battling for the second seed.
Yeah.
And that will be intriguing. But I feel like Montreal, Ottawa, and Toronto are booked, right?
Yep.
And now the West is, holy shit. What has happened in the West, which I thought at one point was the more chalky side. Look at this division. First place is the Rough Riders with a record of 5-5-1 because of that bullshit tie by the command center. But that bullshit tie by the command center is actually somewhat saving them, but no, because they would have won the game. So it actually is going to penalize them probably when it's all said and done. Winnipeg in second place at 5-6, but they've beaten BC twice. That's why they're ahead of BC. BC in third place at 5-6. Calgary just had the bye week, so they're 4-6, very well capable of being right back tied with them. And then even the Eskimos are 3-8, still very much alive. What the hell's happening in the West?
It goes back to when you look at these teams, you're trying to decide which one's going to pull ahead. You gotta go with the championship caliber team that has been really good for a while now, right? In Winnipeg, that's who you gotta bet that is going to make the playoffs. If you're accurate in the fact that Saskatchewan is trending down, which it seems like they are, then I think it's going to be Winnipeg and maybe BC. They're trending down as well, so it gets really messy at who's going to grab that second spot. But I think we're going to see Winnipeg jump into the lead here of this division and keep the lead.
Well, I love what they do this weekend for, we're Americans, so we love football on Labor Day. And for some stupid reason, college football only does 2 games. Well, thankfully the CFL says, hey, let's just put 2 games on. Thank you. So we don't have action until Saturday, but Saturday is a gigantic game for the BC Lions. You are at home and you are taking on the Ottawa Red Blacks. Ottawa trying to stay in that mix to potentially get the 1 seed in the East. I mean, that is just a critical game for BC. For Ottawa, sure, it's important, but BC, I feel like I mean, what was this? Was this team 5-1 at one point? I'm trying to think. What were their records? 5 games into this.
I think that's correct. They lost the first game, and then they went on that big run.
Unfucking believable. So then on Sunday we get the Blue Bombers at the Rough Riders. What a fucking huge game. The top 2 teams in the West right now going at it. And then on Labor Day here in the States, the Argonauts get the Hamilton Ticats. I mean, I guess that one doesn't, it's kind of a dud. But I guess for Toronto to be in the mix, like if they win and Ottawa loses, then they inch closer to stealing that spot. But how about, I like the nightcap game, the Eskimos and the Stampeders, because both are very much still alive, kind of like, in a way, kind of like an elimination game for the Eskimos are in the more desperate spot. If Calgary loses that, they could still be in the mix to make the playoffs. But if the Eskimos lose that, they might be a little cooked. So
yeah, I agree.
Which one are you looking forward to most? Is it the Saturday game?
For me, I mean, a replay of that Ottawa BC game is going to be great, but it's Winnipeg, Saskatchewan. 2 teams that they've been up and down all year, but it's huge. If Winnipeg wins, they take the lead of the division. If Saskatchewan wins, they're farther ahead. So I mean, this is a huge game as far as looking at the playoffs.
Yeah. It pretty fire slate here. Yeah, we'll talk about it more tomorrow with our DFS and our picks. But yeah, excited to talk about it all. Power ranking time. Team 9. They did look improved, but it is still by a lot. The Hamilton Ticats, correct?
Yeah, I mean, getting close doesn't really count, right? I mean, good effort, but you still didn't win the game. Maybe you should have, but you didn't. And so, yeah, it's hard to put them above any other team.
At number 8, they didn't even play for me, but I still have the Stampeders. But you take this week off, you look around. If I'm Dave Dickinson, I'm saying, hey, we have a week off. Look around this league. Opportunity is there. Let's get our shit together. You know, they're still number 8 for me right now, but I there's a gap between Hamilton and Calgary to me.
Yeah, I agree. I have Calgary at 8 as well. I didn't want to move them since they didn't play, and I'm questioning if Jake Mayer can be a consistent winner. He puts up some good stats, but I'm questioning if he can be a consistent winner.
Fair. At 7 for me, I have the Eskimos, the Edmonton Eskimos. They lost, even though they were chippy. The ground game has been a pleasant surprise lately. But another thing is you got to wonder, like, if Trey Ford hadn't gotten injured. You know, and McLeod Bethel Thompson played serviceable this week, but I still got him at 7. Who do you got at 7?
Yeah, same as last week. We have the same bottom 3. I have Edmonton as well.
Then at number 6, I have the BC Lions right now. I just wonder what is the pulse of the locker room. I also wonder if the front office and head coach are causing more damage to the team. Then, you know, you're supposed to put your players in the best situation to win. Now, you could argue bringing in Nathan Rourke, a proven winner in the Canadian Football League, is that they're trying to do that. But you could also argue you don't see the Chiefs trying to trade for, Josh Allen. You know what I mean? So I just question the physicality of this team still. And it just seems like they're heading the wrong direction. Who'd you have at number, what is it, 7, I say? 6?
Number 6. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And on top of the fact that they've still been a little mum's the word on, when Vernon Adams is healthy, who's going to be the starter? I hope they don't just pick Rourke because he's the highest paid guy, because I think that would be a disservice to what Vernon Adams has done for the team so far. And Rourke, like you said, I like Rourke a lot. I he's been switching around so many different offenses in the past 2 years here. He might need to sit a little bit more time before you just throw him in the fire. And that's showing on the field with his mistakes that he's making. So I think they mess things up a little bit here. I get the fact that Vernon Adams is injured. We need to find somebody that can help us win. But when he's healthy, you got to make the right decision. I think that's going with Vernon Adams until he messes up on the field.
Yeah. So you had BC there too, though, huh?
Yep.
Wow. We didn't talk about this beforehand, folks. At number 5, I have the Saskatchewan Roughriders. You got fucked. Let's be honest. You got fucked by the league. But that started, for whatever reason, that started the snowball effect. And you lose the game after that tie, that hideous tie. And then you lose by a rouge. You can't get a break right now. But I also think they might be mismanaging the quarterback situation as well. So, it's similar in a way, because I thought Shea Patterson had started to get command of that team. I'm kind of a skeptic right now of the Rough Riders. Who'd you have at number 5?
Well, we finally have a different one. I got Winnipeg here, and I think they are moving in the right direction to take that division. I like what Brady Oliveira is doing on the ground. I don't know if Zach Claros can remain consistent when he's under the pressure he's been in. He's not very mobile, and that worries me. And I think his arm strength is not the same as it used to be. He seems to be a little more challenged to make those throws. I wonder what this team would look like if they had a guy like Davis Alexander, a guy that could run around a little bit better. And now that Davis Alexander is back on the bench and this team's going forward with Cody Fajardo, maybe they want to make some calls, because unfortunately, Zach Claros has done great things for that program.
They had Drew. Wait, didn't they have Drew Brown last year?
They did. Yep.
Tough decisions. Tough decisions. I still think you can win with Strevler. Call me crazy. I don't think. See. I think people are more afraid these days in the way it looks than the result. And in this day and age, and I see the CFL tweeting out the highest completion percentage in quarterback history in their, the CFL's been around for a long time. I don't give a shit about that. You know what I mean? I really don't. And, like Strevler's a guy that I think is just a grit guy that it ain't going to be pretty, but he's a winner. Yeah. And I would like to see him be a starting quarterback in this league. You don't have to be everybody else. I find one of the biggest problems when I watch the NFL for me is everyone. It's such a copycat league. Everybody's running the same stuff, and it actually like bores me in a way. Like I find that like, oh God, great, okay, yeah, the Chiefs, Mahomes did this, so now every offense is trying to do this, right?
Sure.
But the problem is they don't have Mahomes, right? And also Andy Reid, I think, is just a better play caller, but it's a flaw. And I get it. I see the human element of it, of like, well, that's successful. Let's try what's successful. But I just don't think you have to do that. I just think winning is winning. Look at your personnel and find the best ways to win the game. And to me, I actually still believe that Chris Strevler, this is a crazy take too. A lot of people in Winnipeg would disagree with me. I think Chris Strevler still gives you a better chance to win a game than Zach Claros.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, you got to play to your strengths, not other people's strengths. Play to yours.
Yeah. That was number 5, right? Well, number 4 for me is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So it goes, they didn't look good. They look like shit, actually. Well, I'll say this though. Oliveira and the O-line are playing a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Calera's still turning the ball over too much for my liking, but the O-line and the defense has certainly been better since beginning of the season. So that is coaching. You can tell early in the year. I remember me and you texted me like, "Oh my God, the O-line, the D-line, like they miscalculated who they lost in free agency. They should have signed them. Should have let other people go, but they have coached them up. And credit to them. But yeah, we'll see how it goes this week. Because I'm still on the fence about this team. Who do you have it for?
Yeah, so we just have those two flipped. I have Saskatchewan at number 4, close to winning that game. Got it stolen from them by a Rouge. This is the third game in a row. I mean, last week they lost by a close one. 2 weeks ago it was the command center. They're there. They just need to finish games, and that's something that I think they can get to. I agree with you. I mean, when I believe it was when you shared the tweet that Shea Patterson wasn't going to be starting, I said I liked the other team even better now. You're messing with the groove of things.
Yeah. He had just gotten to that, like, you watch certain quarterbacks, and at first, he had his struggles. We had noted it on this show that we weren't buying in. And I feel like his final 2 games, he really kind of took command of that team, and then they switch him out.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing the best football of his career. He made that comeback. I forget who they were playing, but he had a huge comeback drive that was beautiful. And it's like, wow, we've never seen this guy play like this. And yeah, that just it kind of fucked with the whole rhythm of the team. I mean, that happens, and I hate to see guys lose jobs to injuries, but it's also hard to mess with the rhythm of the team. If it's working, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
You don't change horses midstream. All right.
That's right.
At number 3, I have the Toronto Argonauts, man. And you lose or you win on a loser play. All right. But I will say this, Chad Kelly does ignite that offense a little bit. Like, the passing game just looks more fluid. Now, like you noted, that doesn't mean you should ditch the running game, because I actually think they have one of the best running games, if not the best, in this entire fucking league. That's the only thing that keeps me a little questionable there. Is like, can Ryan Dinwiddie be aware, balance? Now, before you were unbalanced because you couldn't throw the ball down the field. Now, don't forget your bread and butter. So I do have the Argos at 3 though. And I think from a talent perspective, when Chad Kelly's healthy, I think they're one of the better teams in the league, man. So yeah.
Yeah, reluctantly to admit it, since I was anti Chad Kelly coming back, but I mean, they won the game in his first week back. He's not been allowed to practice with the team. He's not been allowed in the facility. So some more reps, another week of reps.
This reminds me of when Auburn hired a coach named Hugh Freeze that was previously at Liberty, but before that he was at Ole Miss, and he was caught like cheating and really scumbaggy ways. Like, he threw the previous coach under the bus, trying to say that it was him that was doing this. And the other coach is like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't do any of this. And then like he was basically hiring prostitutes for with a burner phone. Well, he was stupid enough though that he got his phones mixed up. And he used because the university gives you it, but that's the state's phone. So like a wiretap or whatever, like when you can look into that, because you're using state resources. But when Auburn, so after he gets fired from Ole Miss, he can't get a job. So a small school like Liberty takes him, and he does really well there. And then Auburn, a big school back in the SEC, says, "Oh gosh, we need a win." And this guy had a knack for beating our rival. Let's hire him. They're terrified though of his demeanor. I mean, he also, while he was at Liberty, he also got in like a Twitter altercation with kind of bullying somebody. So they wrote into his contract at Auburn that he could not use a cell phone. Right. Which is just fucking hilarious. This is like a grown man who's like 45 years old, 50 years old. It's like, he can't use a cell phone. He has to have somebody else do all of his social media, right? And so that's into the contract. I feel like that's what they got to do for Chad Kelly. Look, you cannot go to a bar. All right, you cannot, use a cell phone.
Stay away from the physical trainers.
Yes, you will only speak to the head coach. All right, or the quarterback's coach or something. But that's what they got to do. But yeah, I mean, the offense flew a little bit more though. I mean, you could just see he offers a dynamic that unfortunately Cam Dukes wasn't offering to them.
Yeah. That's after less than a week. So a couple more weeks, them all getting back on the same page. This team could be trending up in a big way.
Yeah. Yeah. At number 2, it's obvious, the Ottawa Red Blacks, and at number 1, I have the Montreal Alouettes. I think that's the easiest 1-2 in the league right now. I mean, I don't think anyone's even threatening that right now.
I got them flipped. No, I'm just kidding. I also have Montreal number 1, Ottawa number 2. Ottawa's just been very impressive based on what I had expected from them. And, we talked about when we were recapping this game for Montreal, they were down at half. They storm back. They hold Edmonton to 0 points, and they win the game. That's what great teams do. They now hold the record, I think, for the most wins in a 19-game stretch, and that's through the playoffs and the Cup, but in CFL history. So this is a team that they're on a historic run, and they're going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, agreed. Folks, that's our show. Make sure you give Justin a follow. No Turn J Mark. Go out and support No Turn Lawnmowers. Give him a follow on Twitter at JMarkFootball. Remind him that his immune system is cowards when he heads to the great state of Wisconsin. All right. I'm telling you, I think you should. There might be you should perhaps interview a few people or have your wife investigate. They might have purposely given you the old Rona sandwich at the wedding. You know what I mean?
It's possible.
It's like
especially after I made the Bears comment about their colors.
That's what I'm saying. The Chicago Bears son of a bitch. All right. Do me a favor and take that meat on that sandwich and wipe it around, something. Right? Go to the pig pen. All right. Give him a follow though. Check out the Old Fashioned Football Podcast. And the UFL Gambling Podcast. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. Check out the College Football Experience because that's what I do every day, every minute right now until this week starts. All right, 134 previews. College football coming right around the corner. Also, check out the Stadium Heads Podcast. For just great stadium talk. The FCS College Football Experience, the College Basketball Experience, and the College Baseball Experience, as well as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We had Randy Cross on, former San Francisco 49ers Super Bowl champ yesterday. So go check out that episode. Till next time, folks, this is the CFL Gambling Podcast. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
I lost a bet on the Super Bowl. So I had to dive in and crawl around through the snow. Don't believe me? Believe me, there's a video. We made it to promote March 5th and then we did the show. Before March, there was a winter to be lived through. And snow fell on the DC metropolis. In some other cities, this wouldn't be big news. But where I live, it felt like an apocalypse. Not the kind where zombies or the wrath of God, but the kind where Mother Nature doesn't laugh it off. I didn't laugh at all. I saw the sky smoking the blunt now, waiting for the ash to fall. Traffic stalled for a few weeks. Capitol Hill of snow taking up a parking space. A couple notches on the beltway ain't unique, but higher in freezes get more than your heart to race. I mean, the rats were frostbitten, they lost it, risking their lives just to make it to the office. Exhausting, caustic, cold front rose up through the mid-Atlantic and did its damage. Detective Bailey didn't expect a camera and brought a gun to a snowball fight. I know my rights in the seasonal mood swing. Some of us winning, some of us losing. That broken clock's been blinking since winter. I hope it's not telling me I was born to lose. I lost my temper, but I found my center. Winning winter, so I can stay warm with you. That broken clock's been blinking since winter. I hope it's not telling me I was born to lose. I lost my temper, but I found my center. Winning winter, so I can stay warm with you.